Toyota in big trouble. Yes, folks, say it ain't so. Well, I've got to say it. I've got to put the record straight. I always want to bring you the news as unbiased as possible. We all have our subconscious, thoughts and opinions and whatnot that sometimes we can't review everything floating around in our minds, but this is really as unbiased as I can get. Used to be a huge Toyota fan, and now I'd say I'm a Toyota fan, but I'm not 100% sold. I used to fall into the group of thinking that Toyotas never break, they're perfect, but I've had, it must be something like close to 10 Toyotas. They've all had problems. None of them were perfect, and some of them had a heck of a lot of problems. Broken transmissions, transmission cables, alternators, lots of alternators. I've had sensors. Nothing like if I had owned, a typical BMW high mileage experience. Anthony, welcome to the show. So Toyota is in big trouble, and here's the news. This is why, this kind of gives a big hint away at most of it. But yes, it's the Toyota Tundra, and the Toyota Tundra is in big trouble. Toyota had the same V8 for years and years. You think over to their 6-cylinder over in the Tacoma that they had for years and years, and the 4Runner over 20 years with the same engine. Toyota generally, historically, has excellent reliability. But here's the thing. Every manufacturer, and this is a great reminder, whether you're a Ford fan, a Dodge fan, a BMW fan, Lexus, Acura, Kia, Hyundai, whatever it may be, do keep in mind that whenever you're buying a new product, and new product doesn't just mean the new model, be wary, be scared. It means when there's new technology and a major change in technology. So what did the Toyota Tundra get recently? It got a whole, not just visual makeover, but you don't have to worry about reliability when it comes to visual makeovers. Yes, Toyota still uses the same cruise control stick that's in my 1991 Toyota MR2 as they do in the brand new ones. Gotta laugh at that. And it works, and it doesn't fall off. It's not like my 85, I think it was a Firebird, it was a 1985 Firebird that I had. Handle came off right in my hand. Well, Toyota is very good when they've been repeating the same thing for years and years, but not so great when they're trying something new. So you've got the 3.4 liter, almost called it, mentally thought EcoBoost, because it's similar to Ford's 3.5 liter EcoBoost, but they came out with a 3.4 liter V6 twin turbo to challenge and rival Ford's 3.5 liter EcoBoost, which we remember back in the day, back in 2011, there is some issues. It was direct injection only. There was some carbon buildup on the tops of motors for those that idled the vehicle for long periods of time, did like a cold idle and didn't just, start driving. Well, now Toyota's having issues, and it's affecting ever so slightly over 100,000 Toyota Tundras. So essentially all of them. Now, the news story isn't telling you all of them, but I'd say this is a don't be fooled situation, and the internet is talking about this with titles such as, "We finally know why the Toyota Tundra V6 keeps self-destructing." Prost, not to the bad news, but because I tend to get thirsty. And happy Sunday to everyone. Now this little commercial break's over. Back to the news. Yes, there's some very harsh titles going down on the internet, and this isn't the internet overreacting. This is fair news. They have been self-destructing. They've even been self-destructing in the hands of reviewers and in the hands of customers. This is a very serious issue. So a lot of owners have been demanding answers to their problems with the main bearing failures. So the main bearing failures lead to engine essentially destruction, or engine that's going to be noisy, not running as it should. And Toyota finally came out with a recall. And the recall, let's check this out, folks. The recall is very serious. Head over to Car and Driver. 102,000 Toyota Tundras and Lexus LXSs recalled for potential engine failure. And the potential is pretty high. Pretty high. Thank you for those of you that are going to join with that Prost. So Toyota is saying that it's only affecting, I'll zoom in here, they're saying the recall only affects 2022 and 2023 model year models, and it's all of them. And it was caused by debris that was left in the engine during manufacturing. So let's dig a little deeper into this. I'm just going to say it. Maybe this is me being biased, but being that they are so slow to bring out this recall, because I mean, within the first few weeks, in the first few months, reviewers had their hands on these and were saying something isn't quite right with the engine. And customers were also complaining about this right off the bat. So if you're in the comments section because you're not watching this live, or you're in the live chat because you are watching this live, please tell us about your experiences, either personal, through reading what you've come across online, people you know. Let us know. Comment, have you heard of this? I had heard about it and I hadn't made stories about it. I talked about other issues over at Toyota because there are more. The Corolla, the Yaris, the airbag scandal, the emissions scandal. This is really, and we'll get into that because this is overall very big. This spells big trouble for Toyota, not just for the head, which is he's almost certainly going to be replaced, or a whole lot of head, whether you want to call them CEOs or directors or vice presidents. A lot of people, heads are going to roll, unfortunately, for them. But they need to, because there's a bit of a history now of dishonesty. So if you're one of those, Toyotas never break, I trust Toyota 100%. I'm not trying to rain on your parade. I'm trying to take care of you. In the future, when you're shopping a Toyota, do your research, read up. You can't just have blind faith in Toyota anymore, like people have had for decades. And that goes back to, the 80s and 90s, when generally most manufacturers were not building very reliable vehicles, and Toyota was building excellent vehicles with very high reliability, but those were also, it's a different era. The technology wasn't the same. So the recall stems from machining debris left in the engine during the manufacturing process, quote directly from Car and Driver, and this can cause the crankshaft main bearing to fail, total engine failure. And if it doesn't lead to total engine failure beforehand, we're talking about engine knocking, an inability to start, or loss of power while driving. If you're looking at a used vehicle, a new vehicle doesn't quite need the same level of inspection, the unit itself. You need to kind of look at the entire history of the model when you're buying new. But if you're looking at a used vehicle, just a reminder, be very, very wary of engine knocking. Don't just, when someone says, oh, it's not a big deal, it's just, don't fall for that. Now, of course, if there's direct injection on the engine, there'll always be a ticking, but that's not a knocking, folks. So if that engine knocks, you need to be, if it's a knocking, you need to be a walking. Didn't plan that in the show, so pretty cheesy, but I'm a dad now, so I can crack out those cheesy dad jokes and, bad sayings. So the result, 102,000 vehicles for potential engine failure. If it doesn't fail, it could still, just not be a very good engine. Now, this took a long time to bring out, and I'm wondering, this is speculation, but I'm wondering, did Toyota take a ton of time to bring this out because they just didn't quite know what to do? Because this kind of sounds like a whole engine replacement. I don't see any simple, quick solution for this. And if not engine replacement, opening up the engine and getting the debris out. And I still wouldn't be confident enough with what's been going on at Toyota to conclude this, move towards a conclusion of this story. And you really want to stay and watch this to the end, because here's the real kicker. This is the real kick in the pants with how dishonest Toyota has been in the last decade. We're not talking about the Toyota from the 80s, 90s, and 2000s where they're making a product a lot more reliable than the competition. We're talking about Toyota today, the last decade. I wouldn't trust buying a 3.4 liter twin turbo V6 from Toyota, even if it's a 2024. I'm not confident that they've fixed the solution because they've been saying that they've been doing a lot of things that they have not been doing. And let's talk quickly about some of those things. Well, Toyota was sending off vehicles for crash tests that didn't have the airbags. They had a different model of an airbag, a better airbag. And it was not the model of airbag that they were supplying to customers in their vehicles. Do you recall that there was a pretty serious recall on the Corolla and the Yaris and some other mostly the small vehicles from Toyota, but I believe also the Toyota Crown. There's several models that got recalled, that Toyota recalled. They've had, you go back, they had the emissions, they had a bit of an emissions scandal. They even had, when it comes to safety testing, a bit of a scandal because there are some vehicles going for testing that had more welds and more metal. So more, bracing, we could call it, but more metal and more bracing to the vehicles that were getting tested versus the ones actually being sent to dealerships to be sold to customers. This is huge. Now, I don't understand how, and according to Toyota, this only affects the 3.4 liter twin turbo V6, not their hybrid version, which I thought, and correct me if I'm wrong, please, in the comments section. Please correct me if I'm wrong in the live chat. But I thought over at Toyota, just like at Ford, you have, a 3.5 liter with no turbos, and you have a 3.5 liter with twin turbos. It's the same block. It's essentially the same internals, essentially. I thought that's how it worked over at Toyota as well. I thought you had the 3.4 liter V6 twin turbo, and that the hybrid version essentially just added a battery and an electric motor to help get better fuel economy and also beef up those power numbers. So correct me if I'm wrong, but I personally would be very reluctant to get this pretty good looking, big, boxy looking Lexus or the Toyota Tundra. The Toyota Tundra, at least for now, will not be on my list of vehicles to watch, nor my list of vehicles to recommend. So Toyota saying that the hybrid uses the V35A V6 engine, but it's not in this recall. But I thought the V35 is the same engine that is getting recalled. So that's what I don't understand. So yes, the recall effects equipped with the V35A engine. It's right there. You can check it out over at Road and Track, like we're doing right here, right now, or either at the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration. So you can go to their website. But the hybrid, I'm pretty sure, just adds on a battery and electric motor. So I wouldn't trust. My conclusion, Toyota's in big trouble. They have an extremely costly repair on their hands. Extremely costly repair. And I wouldn't feel confident with a Toyota at the moment. In general, most of the models, I'd really want to see, what's the consumer report overall general opinion of it if I'm looking to buy used. This is very concerning. And when you add the whole scandal that they've had with safety testing, with EPA numbers, the whole Environmental Protection Act, how much fuel a vehicle consumes, that doesn't worry me so much. But when did these problems really start? I remember back, I was in law school, and it was 2008, maybe 2009. And I remember when Toyota came out with, there's the scandal because at first Toyota was saying we have no issue with the vehicles, but there's the vehicle accelerator problem where the accelerator would get stuck and vehicles would keep driving. And at first Toyota was just like, must be people's carpets, has nothing to do with us. Our product is perfect. Then there was a bit of, if I recall correctly, there was a bit of an issue with a brake pedal. And it seems that too often in the last decade or decade and a half, almost 2 decades, that Toyota doesn't want to come out on their own with these things. There has to be a lot of issues for them to say that there is an issue. So that is my big concern. I think Toyota's in big trouble. And you know what? These Toyota being in trouble also affects, you can catch it on YouTube, but it also different other videos. But there's some issues going down with just the Japanese brands altogether. I guess if I were to put it really simply, they share parts. In one way of saying it, they're intertwined. So there's a bit of a quality problem going down. If you think over at Honda, their CVT transmission, really not a fan of it. US made vehicles and Japanese made vehicles need to get their houses in order and get it right before we're essentially attacked by all these Chinese vehicles. So vehicles made in China pose a huge threat, and I'm hoping and I'm praying that Toyota and all the others, Toyota does, they house factories in Canada and the US. They help with our economy. They don't just purely sell us vehicles the way that the Chinese manufacturing companies almost certainly will. So I'm really hoping that everyone can get their house in order. So that concludes everything for Toyota being in big trouble. Let us know in the comments section, what do you think? Hard to believe story, but a true story. So please let us know in the comments, folks. That's what we're here for. We're here to, I won't always get it right. Sometimes I'll get things wrong, but through the live chat and through the comment section, we will get it right. And as a group, we'll have good conversations where we learn from one another instead of attack one another. No one's ever going to be right. So if you catch someone saying something that's not quite correct based on the data you have, share your data. Let's learn together. So let's switch over to Ford having huge problems. So we'll have a bit of what I like to call in the live a commercial break here as I go